So, journey to happiness here and now means that it is here and now, but I don't recognize it. So, who has to recognize? My intellect. How it has to recognize? The way I know you, the way you know me. But for this journey, one has to be a seeker, the mind and the intellect, or whatever you say. It has to be pure, to be receptive. So we are in the second chapter where the seeker is narrating the experiences after the master has told him, taught him, this is what the real self is. So entire Eastern wisdom is the study to study myself. To study myself means I want to know what is my true nature. What happens when we find our real self? So the master has taught him this real self is self-existent, self-luminous, all-pervading, infinite reality. So self-existent means what? It does not depend on anything. Means what? My eyes has to depend on the mind to process the information, to know, to recognize. But this real self is totally independent. It is of the nature of the knowledge. But who limits this? My ego. Where I am here. Very subtle ego. See that? Where I am at my home. So just recognize who is at home. The body is at home. But who I am not the body. Who is talking? Mind, along with the lips and the tongue. Or I can say I am talking. The moment I say I am talking, this becomes an identification, ego, intellect, or the mind. Now just imagine that you are in meditation and that real self reveals itself. And that ego is crushed and it perceives that, oh my goodness, I'm all pervading. I'm infinite reality. I'm the real self. It is amazing. So this experience took place to the seeker. So in this verse, he explains this is what happens. Amazing. I never thought that I am the real self, self-existent, all-pervading. Think of a wave, a small wave realizes that wave is not a wave, it's a water. Just imagine. The house recognizes, no worries, it's not a small house or a mansion. I'm the infinite space. So this is, so the seeker is narrating the experiences, what happened to him. That is why I titled it Happiness Here and Aho Aham Namo Maham. Then what happens? Say, imagine you are the infinite reality. You experience that you are all pervading of the permanent state of happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Now ask your mind how you are going to behave. The same mind recognizes, same intellect recognizes, same small I, ego recognizes, I am all pervading. How that is going to respond and react. So this is what he says. Wonderful I am. So what happens? what happens? Think of it. Just imagine again, I'm the infinite reality. What happens? Then are you going to worship any god in the religion? That notion breaks away. When I am the all pervading infinite reality, then this master says, now I'm reading this is very good. Wonderful I am, adoration to myself. Who is that myself? That all pervading one reality. That is the ultimate goal of yoga, tantra, mantra. Aho aham namo mahyam vinasho yasya nasti me brahmadi tamba pariyantam jagannashopi tishtata. When I realize that I am the water, not the wave, what will happen? The world of name and the form disappear. That is the ultimate realization. When I see the gold behind all the ornaments disappear. So we all are one or many ornaments, but what is that entity within us? It is the real self. It is the pure consciousness. And that reality is revealed when the mind moves from the mind to no mind. When the mind moves to no mind. So what happens when there is no mind? It is the mind that recognizes, you recognize me and I recognize you. So that delusion breaks away. What is that delusion? That I am different than you, you are different than me. All barriers breaks away. Who created the barrier? Ego, a separate identity. That is one of the most beautiful experience. So what he says, aho aham namo mahyam. So when we are amazed with that experience. Some people say it is out of the body experience. It is not out of the body because the body is non-existence. It is constantly changing. But why we are not able to do it? Because there is a defect, or you can say there is an impurity in the intellect. I was talking yesterday to that group. You see, understand that part that you are driving a car and the road appears running behind you. Isn't it a fact? I see it through my eyes. So what I see through my eyes, is it a fact? Yes, it is a fact. But that fact is a delusion. We all realize whenever you drive a car, you see the road is running behind you, the trees are going behind you. Don't you see that? We all see it. What the science says, whatever we see, observe, it is a fact. But that fact is a delusion. You see, think of it. Contemplate and reflect. That fact is a delusion. So whatever is changing, whatever I see is changing. There is a change. That change has a birth and death. And what is unchanging? That is unchanging reality is the real self. That is one way to understand it. It is the ego or the intellect that perceives the change. You see, that is why all our masters say that we have to go beyond the mind to find the ultimate reality. So not only we feel that the road is running behind me, which appears as a fact. Who makes this? Who makes this perception affect my intellect? My intellect continues to see the road is running, and still I know it is not. So yesterday I was just talking. So now see, ego says I am stressed. Are you really stressed? It is my ego says. The master says you have to examine. Do not see the immediate cause. Go to the secondary cause, the third cause, the fourth cause. So there are 7 layers of cause and effect. So once you reach to the 7th layer, what do you find? You find this entire world of name and the form is unreal. Don't say immediately. Don't say it immediately without knowing it, without entering into that deeper state of meditation. This is what the master, this is what this seeker is saying. What he says, that Jagannashepi Tishtata, the way there is no separate existence for the waves, it is all water. Similarly, there is no separate existence of this body, mind, intellect, ego, thoughts, separate identity. There is only one reality, and that is real self, and that real self is self-existent, self-luminous. Self-luminous means that it knows, it is an illuminator. What do you mean by illuminator? That consciousness is borrowed by my mind, and the sense organ borrowed the same consciousness, and then it perceives the world. It is independent, it is illuminator. It is the consciousness inside that passes through the mind and the sense organs, then it perceives the world outside. So it illumines the world. It is my consciousness. But it is not my consciousness, it is one consciousness, which is the ultimate reality, that is all pervading, is illuminating the world. I am. Refer to that I am as the body, mind, complex, minus consciousness. I am as good as smartphone. I am an instrument only. I don't have the consciousness to know myself and to know others. Because this consciousness or this real self has been veiled by the intellect, mind, or ego with its own opinion, judgment, separate identity. That is how we perceive the world. In reality, there is only one pure consciousness, which is the real self behind the body and the mind. Is the goal of yoga, tantra, mantra, entire Eastern wisdom. Eastern wisdom. Aho aham namo mahyam. That also is a wonderful phrase. The verse has 4 parts. So what he says, now I experience aho aham namo mahyam. My ego feels as if I should adore that real self that is present here and now. I should do namaste to myself. Why? Because I am that real self. So it's not a part of the ego. I now realize I don't see any difference between the world outside and myself. Aho aham namo mahyam. Vinasho yasya nasti me. The moment I experience that state, what happens? All the dualities disappears. What is that duality? That I am different than you, you are different from me. The mind undergoes a transformation. So what happens? Brahmadi tamba paryantam. So there is a reference. Do you need to worship the God now? You have become one with the entire cosmos. We don't talk about the religion. Jagannashepi tisthata. So now the way my ego or the intellect is perceiving this world has gone. The way I perceive. How my mind perceives? Oh, here is a John, here's a cat, son, here is a Kate, Sam and Stephen, Jerry and David and people and the world and the monitor. This is how I perceive the world. So that perception has changed. Does it mean that from today we will start behaving differently? Or from outside? No. It does not mean even the wall appears. That is also a part of me. It means I should go out of the room from the wall. That's a wrong approach. You continue to do the same thing, same activities, but because your perception has changed inside. What is that perception? Your knowledge. What is that knowledge? Now I know I am the real self, but for transactional world, I continue to behave, live, and think in the same way. Now, if someone says, "Where are you?" your mind instantly helps you to realize, yes, I'm the real self. But outside, you definitely say, huh? Okay, yes, I'm here. I'm here. So, what has happened? Can you think of it? What has happened? So, there are two I. One is the false I, guided by the intellect, that divides the world, which perceives the world with a duality and plurality. And there is a real I. So now that real I has replaced that false I. So when the real I is replaced by that ego I, you don't see that difference, that separative consciousness. What is the basic problem? The basic problem is that false I and the real I both are inside me. Both are inside us. Both gives the knowledge to me. This false I recognizes here is a Stephen. We both are separate. I know him, he knows me. But the real I bypasses that difference. Are you getting it? I'm making it simple. The real I constantly recognizes there is only one reality. So how to recognize this false I? You can see, you can feel the false I. False I. There is a beautiful example given in Upanishad. There is a tree, two birds are sitting there. One bird is keeping quiet, calm, non-doer, no enjoyer. Why he is not enjoying and doing anything? Because he knows, that bird knows that I am of the nature of pure consciousness. The other bird is constantly jumping on the tree, picking up the fruit, throwing the seed out, enjoying. This tree is the world outside, including the body. The first bird, which remains calm, peace, happiness, love, and wisdom, is the real self. And the other bird that is constantly jumping, all over the tree is the false I, is my intellect. Are you getting it? There's a beautiful example given in the Upanishad. So now ask yourself, what agenda you have set for today? Is your mind running? Is your mind says, no, I have to talk again to my honey to pacify him or her. I have lot of things to do. Everything is done by the false I. That overpowers, that veils the real self behind. And that real self is the bird. It has to do nothing because it knows I am of the nature of peace and happiness. I am of the nature of truth, wisdom. I am of the nature of pure consciousness. Are you getting it? False I, real I. All the activities claiming that I am a doer, enjoyer, I feel stress, I feel pleasure, is a part of the false I. Is actually the false I, you can say the false I, your ego or intellect or mind. And the real self is like the bird, it has to do nothing. What is the difference between the two? And what is the alchemy or ultimate of meditation? That this I, which is constantly identifying itself as a doer and the enjoyer in the world outside now, leaves that identification. It merges into the real self. And we have reached to the ultimate. See, this is what is known as awakening. So we are answering that how to recognize the false I. I am doing something, I am stressed, I am happy, I am sorrowful, I fought with you, and then I patched with you. All the activities, thoughts, feelings, sensations of duality, of plurality, comes from this false I or the intellect. That is why every master says, go behind the mind. Don't do anything, just go behind the mind, beyond the mind. So, from the mind to the no mind, in that state of the no mind, we recognize, we experience the real self. We can do it here and now. If we are a seeker like Janaka in this text, this is what he says. Aho. What he says, Aho aham namo mahyam. Now I am saluting to myself. Which one is that myself? The bird that is sitting, totally, ultimately satisfied, full of knowledge, wisdom, and the truth. Do I have that experience? I am already there. So let us close your eyes. Let us start our journey.